Hi, welcome back to Azimuth Podcast. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Kimberly McNabb, and I'm Barrett McNabb.
Now, we are parents, but do you think we're entitled parents like this woman?
So, I asked my mother-in-law one day if she'd watch my kids for 10 days. Because
What's with
I wanna
TikTok
go
and
away on a
eating
school
stuff
trip.
while you're recording?
And she laughed at me. And then said, you have to move closer to me so I can watch your kids. And then maybe I'll actually help you. So I said, well, you're showing me you won't help my kids if I live across the country. Why would I move closer? It makes no sense. Anyways, I don't understand how selfish boomers are nowadays. I'm not willing to help. If you want to help and you want your kids closer to you, then help.
So the overlaying text at the top says, grandkids aren't just a right, it's a privilege.
I mean, that's a lot to unpack. Obviously
yeah.
Sometimes I think people do this to get sympathy. Sometimes they do it to do public shaming. Who knows, right?
So we've encountered this situation.
Sure.
Because, we have one relative that lives close to us, and then everyone else lives far away, and they have their own kids and lives. And so, and my mother still works. So first question I thought was, well, does your mother-in-law still work? Because 10-day trip, that's a lot of time
It's a lot of PTO.
That is pretty much all of some people's PTO. I mean, when I was at an accounting firm, it was 5 days. I mean, that's longer than my PTO. So there's that. Is she able to travel? Can she afford to travel and may not want to tell you? Is she coming to you? Are you sending the kids there? I mean, they're logistical questions. And then also, are her children a pain in the ass? Because, I have some friends with some kids. I'd be happy to babysit them, and others, I don't want my kids anywhere near you. You or your kids. I might like you, may not like your kids. So,
Does she hate that her kids eat peanut butter out of the jar with a spoon and put it right back in?
This is the daughter-in-law, so maybe your mother-in-law just doesn't like you.
Right.
And also, she'd want you to speak clearly. And then how old is the mother-in-law? Like, my mother-in-law's up there, and, she's older than my mother, and so my mother can naturally do more stuff. And, 10 days is exhausting for anybody.
Right.
And how old are the kids? A hyperactive 5 and 6 year old, a lot more exhausting than, a well-mannered 15, 16-year-old that can take care of themselves and just, maybe legally need an adult that just sits there. So there are those factors. And then, at a certain age, most people want that retirement lifestyle. It's like, I did the kid thing, I'm 75 years old. I want to go hang out with my retirement home people.
And on top of that, she references boomers, and I have read some articles that baby boomers, they worked hard, their entire lives, doing this 9 to 5, oftentimes more, and they finally have enough income where they can go on trips themselves that they weren't able to go on. Because the boomers have been paying off their children's college debt. We see some of these TikTok videos of the Gen Z kids going into the workforce and crying that 9 to 5 is so hard.
9 to 5 is just a saying. It's not the actual clock in, clock out time.
40 hours a week. They're upset about doing 40 hours a week, and these boomers, they defined the 40-hour work week and worked more than that. So they did that their entire lives, and this could be an opportunity for them to do stuff for themselves.
Well, it also depends, I think, on how the family is structured, because my grandparents had more children. Like my dad's side had 6 kids total, and then they started having kids, some of them very early. And so every time my grandmother was in town, she would watch some of my cousins, And when it came to me, it was like, I'm not interested in her. She had been around kids like 40 something years. She was tired of it. And so, also you have to remember that boomers were in colleges and stuff like during the, bra burning era of the 60s. And so, people were encouraged to do things that they wanted to do, not, so obligated to the family structure. And so kids may not have, generations past, and certainly this generation and, people younger than we aren't as kid-centric. So they may not want to babysit or have as much to do with kids.
One of the things I thought of is what's the timeline that she's asking her mother-in-law to watch her kids. I mean, we went on a long trip, and we started planning a year in advance to have my mother-in-law, your mother, watch our children for 7 days.
7. I think the longest was 9. And again, it was at least a year out because she had to request time off. And of course, the first thing I would ask is, are you willing?
Right.
Is this something that would interest you? These are the dates I was looking at. I haven't registered for anything. I haven't signed up for anything, bought any plane tickets, nothing, until she had that paid time off on the board at her work.
And this was our Alaska trip. When you were running your 50th state marathon and finishing up in Alaska.
So everything was, is this okay with you? Is this okay with you? Is this something with, what, you want to do or can do? Do you need money to get here? We made it, hopefully, Mom, as
painless as possible.
Painless as possible. And and same when his mom comes to babysit, like I try to have them fed and clean and, everything laid out, and we're going to be back by this time. And so anyway, she just seems very entitled. And at the end of the day, parents, you have to remember, you're the one that chose to have children.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
so it's called consequences. Maybe your parents should have taught you more about it.
There you go. Absolutely. Anyway, we saw this and we thought it was interesting and made us laugh a little bit and made us scratch our heads of what it.
We're not guilty, are we?
Yeah. Are we doing this as well? So, but thank you so much for watching this segment of Azimuth Podcast. Please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.